All right. Well, yeah, as always, Jeff, I really appreciate you. You're always willing to do this and what have you, just trying to do things to always get the word out to people in a way just to make it more convenient for them. So even if it's a little bit awkward to start, we're doing it. So I really appreciate having you do this with me.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm glad we were able to get the online stuff at least to work quickly on the phone this time. It's
Yeah.
always a hassle with the Facebook.
Yep. And
But thank you for inviting me.
oh, absolutely, man. And I think that I can see, like, if we can get in questions from people, we only have a few people. We'll just try to power through the questions that I was able to collect ahead of time. You and I kind of discussed them a little bit. You were able to get some information put together for people. So we'll just talk, see what pops up, and just start rolling. So, but
Sounds fine with me.
first things first, I mean, what's going on with you? What's going on in your life?
Well, I'm keeping busy, even though the legislature is not in session. We ended early June and we go back early February.
Yep.
There's no lack of things that we do. So I have lots of different meetings, lots of different things I'm working on for next session, a lot of constituent services, a lot of things I'm doing for the 13 towns that I represent, a lot of different things. So I keep busy that way. And I'm also keeping busy being a doctor. So,
How's that going?
it keeps me busy. I'm happy to do it. I've been doing it for a very long time and I still enjoy it very much. So I'm blessed to be able to continue to be a doctor and to be a state senator. So I say I have the best of both worlds with the two jobs I have.
It's tough, man. I mean, I get, it's one of the things I've thought about when I've talked to you, just like as crazy as it is like kind of in the world right now, everything with healthcare and what have you. How's that how's that journey in general going for you with all the things changing in at least in our country overall? And in the state of Connecticut, obviously. Any big changes that are kind of coming around the corner, things you've been working on?
Well, the things I did work on, one of the big things I worked on, I was a big leader this year in a new law, a prescription drug pricing bill.
Yep.
I worked on it. I was one of four co-chairs of a big task force, truly bipartisan. It was an idea I and a few others came up with. We worked on it for a long time, got it through the legislature, worked with the governor, and with 2 minutes to go before the session ended, we passed it in the Senate. And I was there when the governor signed it. I actually still have the his copy of
Oh, there
what
it
he
is.
signed. So I'm happy to have that. It's an honor, and we're one of the few states that's actually going to really delve into more transparency and trying to make things better with these pharmacy benefit managers, the
Yes.
middlemen,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
make billions of dollars off of drug prices and then never pass the savings on.
Right.
So you could say it's a rigged system by then, and we're shining light on them, and we're going to start to really pry their world open more so the savings get passed on. And it's a really big deal. In
Yeah.
addition to many other things I've been doing with public health, but this was one of the big achievements this year.
It's interesting because obviously, like I said, I had some questions here and what have you, but like you just kind of mentioning that stuff, I think that's fascinating because yeah, that's been a big thing that's been going on, and that's something that's, I mean, for years it's kind of been like lobbed back and forth, like politically, as far as like getting these things squared away, what like whether it's trying to get cheaper, pharmaceutical medications and whatnot for people. Well, it's so important. I mean, like things seem like they're finally kind of, for me, the way I look at things, kind of moving in the right direction. That's why it's so important right now to be able to work with people across the aisle like you do. I mean, what's been your biggest challenge in regards to trying to do that just in the state of Connecticut? I mean, Connecticut obviously has got a reputation for being the insurance state. So there's obviously battles that happen in that front. What are your thoughts?
I've taken on the insurances
Yeah.
early on as a senator in trying to change the crazy decision making insurance companies make that basically denies surgeries, procedures, tests, drugs
Yep.
to people when they need it. We call that prior authorization. I tackled that very much head on with the leadership, the Democratic leadership of the Senate. So that shows we do things bipartisan, and I'm always endeavoring to do that to get things done while making certain I'm standing up for the people I represent, the towns, and my principles. But I did it. I have taken on the insurance companies, have won. I was one of the leaders nationally when an insurance company decided it was just going to limit how much it would pay for anesthesia for people having surgeries. So can you imagine you have to go in for a surgery? The insurance company says we're going to pay for 1 hour of anesthesia. But
Mhm.
what happens if the surgery's an hour and a half? They're going to stop the anesthesia. You're going to come out with a huge bill. It makes no sense. I worked with people in New York and around the country, including physician colleagues of mine,
Sure.
and we stopped it.
Yeah.
And then we got a bill. Senator Looney and myself, we worked on a bill to say in Connecticut, you can't be doing that type of stuff. You have to cover anesthesia during surgery, however long that surgery may be. So there's big things, there's small things, but overall, I'm not afraid to stand up for the things that need to be done because at the end of the day, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed
Yeah.
to be working and trying to work with people to get things done. I can tell you sometimes the insurance companies may not like what I do,
Yeah.
but I'm there advocating for patient care. So I say it's patients over profits. That's one of the things I really champion in the state senate.
What do you, as far as like, because that's an intimidating thing, man. I mean, it's one of I can't imagine fully like what that must be like trying to, I'm a big believer in diplomacy and being able to talk to one another. But that is such a challenge, like being able to talk to people like that and trying to get things passed. I think a lot of times, like just us regular folks, we kind of forget like how tricky that stuff is and how hard that is to get done. And when you've got people with so many different opinions and what have you, and then you come up against these big moneyed interests, and even just on the state level, that's tricky. I mean, do you have a specific, I don't know, strategy outside of just trying to talk to people? What, like how you build relationships and whatnot? How do you navigate that?
Well, I've learned over many, many years, including my 16 years being a town official in
Yep.
Woodstock, where I live, that you always are trying to talk with people. I never assume that someone is going to support or oppose. You always got to reach out. Now, sometimes it works. Sometimes people say, hey, we find common ground and willing to work. For example, some of the work I did on insurance coverage, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, we're mindful you can't always agree, or sometimes politics
Yeah.
happens.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I always endeavor to reach out to people. And I always tell people that regardless of who they are, they should reach out to me, especially in the legislature. If someone would like to reach out to me and know what I'm thinking, would I be willing to work with them? Am I willing to do some things to find some common ground, some common sense? I tell them, find me. I give people my cell phone number at the legislature. Give me a call, give me a text. I'm always happy to. I mean, I had a representative reach out to me on a big maternal health bill. And I had said, hey, I'm happy to work with you, but by the way, I'm a doctor. I understand how this might work.
Yeah.
Maybe a few changes might make this work better in the real world. We hashed it out, and I went in with a bunch of people and we created a law that's going to really help improve maternal health outcomes. And that's a big deal when we talk about healthcare in the state. So I'm always trying to work with people, but sometimes you do have to say no. Sometimes someone will want
Yeah.
me to do something, and I'm like, it's not for the best interests of the people I represent. And I have to sometimes just say no.
That's tricky too. I mean, with anything, it's like boundaries and just knowing when to say no, and just like okay, like there's a lot that goes into this, but then still being willing to talk to people. It's no joke, man. I mean, but that's the fortunate thing now about like again things like this, where you can get the word out in different ways and talk to people, take questions from people, if they have them. Now, speaking of which, I do have a question. Now, I'm a little bit interested because you mentioned this thing you're working on in regards to maternal care. What is that? Can you dive into that a little bit?
Sure, it's several things I'm doing. One is I've been battling the big hospitals when they cut
Mm,
inpatient labor and delivery.
mhm.
Um, that happened at Johnson Memorial. It happened at Wyndham Hospital. In Northeast Connecticut, we only have Day Kimball that provides inpatient labor and delivery. So I've been a big person fighting against that. I believe the state is wrong in allowing that to have happened. I've discussed it with leaders in state government, and I'm continuing to push on that. But I'm also pushing to find ways that we can improve healthcare outcomes. So, for example, maternal health.
Yeah.
In rural parts of the state, sometimes in inner cities, we can find lower health outcomes compared to, say, the rich suburbs
Yeah.
in
Yep.
Fairfield County. So I'm trying to find ways. So what can we do to be of better help? And some of the bills that were signed this year that I helped co-introduce and helped work on, the big changes in the bills that were brought to the Senate and the House after they worked through the Public Health Committee was really delving into saying, let's work with the hospitals to better collect the data in real time about outcomes, sort through them, and then what more can we do to find ways to help maternal health?
Mhm.
Sometimes it's, trying to find out, is somebody struggling to buy food, for example, but
Yeah.
they don't want to tell you, or maybe they just need transportation to get to their obstetrician for checks during pregnancy. Maybe it's certain services that can be provided after they deliver and then they're being sent home. So there's a lot of different things we look at with that. It's a good bill. It's not going to fix the problem overnight, but it's a very good step partnering with state government, partnering with doctors, partnering with hospitals to try to improve maternal health. And Connecticut does well in the state for maternal health, but we can do better.
Yeah.
And any way we can that isn't burdensome and cumbersome, we should do. And to me, at the end of the day, the stuff that was changed in the bill that I worked on
Mm.
made common sense. And I was more than proud to have my name as one of the people bringing the revised bill out for vote.
So with the bill, is there anything specific in the bill that you feel is going to ultimately really improve maternal care, and just from your perspective, and like what are those specifically?
The real specific thing, one of
Yep.
them is better collecting the data in real time
Yep.
and processing it so we can learn, are there trends,
Yep.
are there different parts of the state having certain issues that we weren't aware of because we just think it isn't an issue because it hasn't really been brought to state government's attention. So
Yep.
it's better engaging the state agencies, working with the hospitals and not being adversarial. And then
Yeah.
at the same time, trying to find then with the data that we collect, what ways can we interact
Mhm.
with women during pregnancy and after pregnancy?
Mhm.
Maybe some of it is better use of state resources.
Yep.
Maybe some of it is better allowing hospitals to do certain things that they do and get rid of some of the red tape and some of the regulation that is hampering things. Keeping an open mind about it, but the first step is to better understand the problem,
Yeah.
and that's the bigger step we're now taking. And that really, I believe, is going to open up some doors in the coming years. And quite frankly, Connecticut's been getting some attention for the two laws for maternal health that were passed,
Okay.
being looked at as, hey, Connecticut is a leader trying to better deal with this.
Yeah.
Maybe other states will follow around the country what we're doing.
And I think I probably made you repeat yourself a little bit. I just wanted to verify what you were saying, so I understood it because I'm trying to learn as much as I can. Um, I'm curious. So here's something. Now somebody there's a lot of things going on right now about getting kind of like to the root cause of health issues and what have you. And I think that the people have been starting to really integrate in healthcare, and tell me if I'm wrong, like the use of, say, like AI. Do you feel like there is value in that? Like I've dabbled with it myself. Like I use it to kind of help touch things up. Like if I put something out there, I use it to kind of check things and what have you. But I also see that it can do that stuff in regards to collecting data and like really streamlining things, saving time and turning it into something that can actually make it better in regards to just, yeah, like saving time for people so they can focus on like the real work. Have you seen that begun to be like integrated at all on the state level? And do you see value in it?
In healthcare, it's a double-edged sword. There is some value, but you got to be very careful because you have to understand where AI is getting the data from.
Right.
So if it's coming from data that's bad sources, it's just going to give it to you. So you have to understand that, but you also have to understand that no matter where AI is used, at the end of the day, for healthcare, there's a patient, there's a physician, and there's still stuff we have to do hands on. I don't use AI to write my office notes. I do
Yep.
use AI when I need to do certain research where, okay, I want to find out what is some of the different research studies that are out that
Yeah,
might be giving me some ideas about some new things coming out that I might want to look into for some of my patients.
sure.
AI can be really great combining all that and synthesizing it and then giving me links,
Yeah,
in a nice format as opposed
yeah,
to I have to do a big Google search and
right.
just scroll down the screen.
Yep.
Also, for things that I want to get data on. So if I want to find out, like, over 20 years, what's the incidence of colon cancer?
Mhm.
Well, I may not know the specific numbers every year. I know, and I have a good idea about it and I know the trend. But if I
Yeah.
really want to get that detail, AI can help me gather a lot of that stuff. AI is being used to try to also better sort through different patterns
Yes.
in test results.
Mhm.
That might streamline it. There are some tools being tested that I've used in a test mode,
Mhm.
well, but not a final mode.
Mhm.
So I think you're going to see more of that. But at the end of the day, you can't remove the human. And the
Right.
same in state government. Maybe AI might make things more efficient in doing certain things.
Yeah.
That's great. But you
Yep.
always have to have the oversight and you have to regulate it because some people can use AI for bad,
Yes.
and we definitely don't want that. And so Connecticut is moving forward to better oversee certain things, as are other states.
Yeah.
So I see the good and the bad with it. AI is here; it's not going away.
Yeah.
So we do have to live with it, but we're all going to go through an adjustment period over some years as it becomes more and more, I guess, mainstream or prevalent in everything we do.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. It's been around for a while. Like from we, I don't think a lot of times we realize that a lot of these things get rolled out. They've been here,
Yep.
and then it's like they release it to the public after it being tested for so long through safety measures and what have you. I mean, just like for me, like anyone else, it's something that freaks me out. But then you dive into it to try to better understand it, and it's exactly what you said. It's something that, like, yeah, it's pattern recognition more than anything. That's what I find fascinating about it, and I do see the
Yes.
I see the value in like how it can like work in something like healthcare, and trying to. I mean, our brains are pattern recognition, and so it's like if you use it, like it's like the saying goes, iron sharpens iron. If you use it intentionally and do it the right way, good. It's like anything else. It's like, when the internet first came around, nobody thought it would last, but here we are, and like look what we're doing right now.
Now
And
we can't live without the internet. I remember in the first year AOL came out,
mm,
I signed up, and you had to put the phone in the modem and,
yeah,
connect,
yep,
and wait a while to connect. And now people can't live without the internet. It's all over our phones. Everything is heavily connected. AI is going to be the same way,
yeah,
but we will learn how to use it. And some people are learning how to abuse it. I've held some scam jams with the state police
saw
and
that.
FBI in my district.
Yep.
Uh, to your viewers, stay tuned. I'm going to do some more, and Stafford is going to be on the list
Okay.
for me to do a scam jam. And we've been learning more and more how criminals are using AI to
Mm,
scam people out of billions of dollars. And it's incredible how quickly it gets abused and how law enforcement is using AI now
yeah.
to go after these people and to try to shut them down. So it's very interesting to see how AI is being used battling criminals.
Yeah.
So, that's just part of what we see. But I think people don't realize how much AI is becoming more prevalent in their lives. It's
Yeah.
just a lot of it's behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, it's the kind of thing that it's like if you're online, you're dealing with something with AI. That's why one of the things I try to tell people, like if I post something and what have you, I constantly try to say, it should be an opportunity to get back out there. I think over the past 25 years, as all this technology has really sped up, it's actually kind of put us behind our technology a lot. And what I've realized, even in my life, kind of coming up in that generation, it's just like the more I get out there, the more, well, this is what's real. It's like, so it's like you can use this to actually save yourself more time and give yourself more time to get out there and do the things that are important. Because it's like you said, you need people now more than ever. Like we've been doing this with technology for so long that right now I think it's a real opportunity for people to get out there and work with one another again and actually use these tools to speed things up so that we can actually spend more time on the bigger things. And that's the way I've been trying to look at it. And I've just been really curious and fascinated in the way that it's being used, like potentially governmentally, and just those things, like I said, like, I think I noticed, like, because there was all this talk in regards to, I think, RFK Jr., he and everything he's done with the Department of Health and Human Services. I think there was a lot of talk about them trying to kind of figure things out through the use of AI. So it made me start thinking, like, how much does that trickle down to the state level? And how can that be used effectively so that we can actually do bigger work where we actually get out there and just talk more with one another and collaborate?
Well, I think AI can be helpful if used properly and vetted in a lot of pattern recognition trends, things like that. You're
Yep.
still going to need people to pick up the phone and
Yes.
talk with you to help you. So, I mean, I tell my constituents when I am putting out my Facebook posts, which I try to do nearly every day to let people know what's going on, or
Mhm.
my e-newsletter that comes out every 2 weeks, and people can sign up for free if they want. None of that is generated by AI.
Yep.
I write it. My staff works with me on it. None of that's AI. All the pictures are not AI. I don't use AI for that. When I reply by email, that's just me, or my staff might reply to someone who has a very particular constituent question, and the staff will reply saying, talked with DOT, we got the issue fixed, or I'm giving someone a long email to reply to a big question they have. I'm not using AI for that. I don't want to. I want it to really be coming from me, coming from my staff. But there are other ways we can use it, especially just given the huge amounts of data that we
Yeah.
get every day. It's so overwhelming. You really need AI to help sort through some of it. And that can help with efficiency. And
Yes.
then you fact check it. And there are ways to do that. So I think there are ways that you're going to start seeing more and more state agencies using it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But when us in the legislature, we're there in person, we're there taking the votes, we're there speaking, we're there having the personal relationship with constituents, with business owners, with fellow legislators. AI is not going to replace, that personal touch. You're right. Might it free up more time for us? It could.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, AI is just one tool, but not the only tool. That's how I view it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest with you too. Like, and like, and I think it's great. Like the things that you do in regards to, like, it should be like as human as possible, even if it is digital. I, again, like for me, I've got to a point where it's nice to kind of touch things up a little bit, making sure, like, it could be like such a good spell checker, just like on steroids, where it's like you're making sure you get all
Yes.
the information, and then you go through everything that you've done, and then you read it, and then you've learned even more, and then it can be a collaborator with you as well, and it can be this thing that, like, you can actually use to speed up the learning process. I would never have expected that. It's like, for me, it's like something I will do sometimes is like books that I read, and then I'll have these back and forths with, like, say, like Chat GPT, and like just being like, okay, teach me this even more, and then you go into more detail, and then, like I said, like for me, it's like I think to myself, how can that work in a way that, like, really saves time for other people? Like if you're doing things like where you want to apply something that's unique to, say, like legislation and what have you on the town level, and just speed things up, so again, like, there can be more of the human element, because I think what's happened, all the craziness in the world now, I think so much has been bogged down by all of this stuff that just hasn't been dealt with for so long. And now we've got this tool that can help speed things up. So hopefully we can fix these things, because it's like that. They talk about, like, you put a frog in hot water, it'll jump out right away. But it's
Right.
like,
But if you slowly turn the heat up,
yep,
right, it will just be boiled to death. The way I look at it is that AI can be helpful. For example, if I wanted to do some research and find out, as I've been fighting for Stafford to stop public education cuts from the state and get
right,
more
yep,
town aid road funding and things like that, I could use the AI and say, hey, all these different data that I want,
yep,
go back over 20 years and
yeah,
show me all the different trends, or generate a graph for me, or give it to me all on a table. Could that save time?
mm,
Sure.
yeah,
Very much so, as opposed to I have to go find each data point, create the trend myself and do the math on my calculator.
Yep.
Can that be helpful? Sure. Does it tell me then what the data means, and how to then, what I need to do to advocate? No, because I have to analyze the data. But yeah, some of that stuff is. I still have tons of paper that I have from my 3 years as a senator for each of my towns about all sorts of different things that I've been advocating for or stopping cuts.
Mm.
And I have that all, and then I go back to it all, and I still have to then look at it to see the trends. But if I could put that into an AI or a chat GPT and say, okay, here's the data, put it into a much easier format so I can print it in like one page,
Yeah.
will that help me? Sure. But that definitely would. And so you can see how that can then be of more help. So if I'm spending less hours having to dig up the data, it's right there at my fingertips. I can use those extra hours to be lobbying, to be advocating, to be
Right.
talking with towns,
Exactly.
talking with constituents. That's a help.
Yep.
But will I want to check to make certain the data I'm getting makes sense?
Yep.
Sure. If I get data that says, hey, Stafford's gotten $1 billion over 20 years, well, I know that's impossible.
Yeah.
I would love it, but it's impossible. But if I'm getting numbers and the data points are making sense and jive with what I've been seeing, that's helpful. And I haven't done it yet for that, but it might be something that I will because I just have so much data that I've been collecting that it's going to be helpful to have that in a much easier resource where you can use tools to get an analysis.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how much time that's going to actually save.
That,
And for the town as well, if that happens for certain things in town government.
yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me that I think of. And that's again, like I understand the way people feel about it. I definitely had, going from somebody that like looked at it and was like, I don't know this, and then all of a sudden, like I feel like I kind of became an advocate for it, and then you slowly, of course, you hear more people starting to talk about it. Even like you go online and like you can see people. I've got to a point where I can kind of see people when they're using it, like say, like even just like when you're commenting on something, and I've done it before myself because sometimes it's good to just be like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to leave this alone. I want to make sure this is said the right way, and then good. But I think from doing it that way, I'm like, well, how can this be used more? And I think you're right. I think it's like going to the idea of saving time and being able to collect all the data in the right way. It's huge. Now,
Well, we're all super busy, and so
yeah,
good tools that we can use, the better. And we do have technology, so we should find good ways to use it.
and I'll tell you. So, but I was going to say on the flip side of that too, and you're right. Yeah, we should use it if it's there. It's just how we use it. Um, Okay, so now I'll be honest with you. I got a little bit nervous because I had my laptop up with the questions I wanted to ask. My laptop ran out of batteries, and I didn't have my cord. But I had something fresh in my mind in regards to one of the things that you and I had spoken about. And recently, I believe you were given I think 100. What was it? 100, an A+ rating, 100% rating for with business and what have you. What was the CBIA? Is it?
Yeah, the Connecticut Business and Industry Association.
Perfect. Okay, so there you go. So business and AI. That's one of the things I think about. Like for me personally, I'm trying to do things on my own, figure things out as far as like the things I want to do. But then you see all these other people that are struggling now because of things like AI. I've worked in hospitality for years. I felt that myself, and you see people trying to incorporate technology and actually remove the employees, and that's why I have such an opinion on it, because I look at something like hospitality and I think, well, that should actually free up more time so that people can go, the staff that you have can actually create that experience for your customer.
Yes. We shouldn't let technology completely replace employees. I'm not a fan of that. It has it to certain things. We've seen self checkout in all sorts of stores and grocery stores. But I'm proud. This is the third year in a row. My and this is my third year as a senator that I've gotten 100% job champion rating because I've been there promoting business. I'm there promoting business two ways. One is small businesses are what the businesses are predominantly. And in our 13 towns in our part of the state, that's really what small businesses are. And I include farming because agriculture brings in around $4 billion a year into Connecticut and creates unbelievable number of jobs. So I'm there advocating to make certain that we can have good economic development locally.
Yep.
That helps the tax base for the towns and can help limit the pressure on residential property taxes. But that also feeds into economic sustainability for the state of Connecticut.
Right.
And I've agreed with the governor. I've said this many times when he says he doesn't want more taxes, he wants more taxpayers,
Mm.
which means we want more people working in this state. We want more jobs in this state. We need more businesses. I helped work to cut income taxes, state income taxes. I worked in a bipartisan way. We got that done. Big deal that was. And we're able to do it because if we can grow our economy, we will have the money to say we can spend more on education.
Yeah.
We can tax less
Yeah.
because we have more businesses creating more jobs. So when we create jobs, that helps people in workforce development, the trades, service, professional, farming, you name it. But at the same time, it helps workers because if we have businesses that are more on an even keel, have more financial stability and sustainability, that's good for the workers. That also means that the businesses, when they're succeeding, can give more to workers for pay, more, more benefits for the workers and their families. So I just don't view it as pro business. It's also very much pro worker. And some people say, well, there's separate bills for workers, and there are. But at the end of the day, it's the business owner and the workers, they're the ones making that business successful. You can't have one without the other. And the more that we can do to be of help, that's really how Connecticut is going to not just succeed, but when we have economic downturns, that's how Connecticut's in a better situation to be on an even keel. And that's very important long term. And that's part of what I've been really focusing on from a business and a worker point of view. And I spend a lot of time talking with employees. I spend a lot of time talking with business owners, and I hear a lot of common ground. And I take that back to the Capitol to see what we can work on. So I'm proud of that work because if we don't do it and our economy suffers, everything suffers. We will have no money for schools. We'll have no money for the roads and the bridges. I mean, so much is dependent upon a good economy, local and state, that you can't really overstate it. And we've had bad times in the state, and we could see how that suffered
Yeah.
with loss of funding in programs, and taxes had to go up year after year after year. No one wants that. So that's why I focus on those issues. And I'm going to continue to focus because that's some of the major things people tell me about when we deal with the affordability crisis in Connecticut. So that's one of the things I'm going to continue to do. And I'm already planning for next legislative session, working with some people on some legislation about what more can we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to the workers, now this is one of the trickier questions because when you talk about workers and you think about things like obviously like unionizing and what have you, and how the way everything is now and how it can be. One of the questions that we got, and this goes back into like say like the merging of hospitals and what have you, and then workers unionizing and whatnot to make sure that they have affordable wages. How do we navigate that? It's like you want people to be able to have a livable wage and what have you, but then at the same time, you want the hospitals or any other businesses to be able to succeed. How do you balance all of that, like between trying to do what's right for the workers and then also trying to do what's right for the businesses, especially if things start to happen in regards to people forming unions and coming together just to make sure that they have those things available to themselves in regards to being able to live a good life.
It's never easy. I mean, it certainly isn't. And at sometimes contract negotiations can be adversarial. I mean, we've
Yes.
seen that, just not with state government, but all around in private industry, and it happens.
Yeah.
Each side wants to start out with its full position point, and then they have to come to a common ground.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier than other times. I've always viewed it this way, that I am not opposed to people who decide of their own choice
Yep.
that they want to join a union.
Yep.
If they want to join a union, I have no problem with that. That's their right. And there's all sorts of unions and professional societies that can act like unions in a sense. So I don't have a problem if someone wants to, of their own free will, do it. Um, I am not there to say no to a union, that you can't exist, you can't negotiate for for your union members. But we also have to be realistic that at the end of the day, whether it's a business or state government, there's only a limited amount of money. The state cannot print money, and money comes from taxpayers.
Yeah.
That's how it comes from. And there's only a limit to how much taxpayers can pay. We've seen this in the towns when people came out and voted budgets down. In
Right.
Stafford, for example,
Yep.
they voted one down in my town.
Yep.
There's a limit, so you have to look at the reality of it and where can you find the common ground. Have there been times that I voted for certain union contracts at the state level because I thought that it made sense long term and we had the money for it? Yes. Did I vote no on certain union contracts when I looked at the long term impact on the state budgets and we weren't going to be able to sustain it? And that could lead to higher taxes. I had to make that decision. But we really have to see where the common ground is, for that at any given time. And some people say, well, Jeff, you're a Republican, you have to be anti-union. I said, absolutely not. I'm there to see what we can do to make certain that if people want to advocate for themselves, they're given a fair opportunity. And if a business wants to advocate for itself or part of a business group, then they're given a fair opportunity. And then those things get negotiated, or at the state level, it gets negotiated. So it's never easy. I can tell you every time I've needed to vote on a union contract, I have read through everything that's been provided to me and I've asked for more
Mm.
because the more I know what's going on and I can map out what's the potential 5 or 10 year impact. Because we have to think that way. We just can't say, what's the 1 or 2 year? And then, oh, we'll worry about that later. That makes no budgeting sense. And I do that due diligence and I do come to the votes as informed as I can and doing what I think is right at that moment. Some people may like it, some people may not, depending upon the vote. But you always have to be informed. You just can't reflexively say yes or no.
Right.
And the average person understands that, and the average business owner does. And again, I've never have a problem reaching out to unions. Sometimes the unions will want to meet with me. Sometimes they don't. I do offer anytime so I can hear their perspective. And I tell them if you don't let me know your perspective, then I'm going to have to make a decision without hearing from you. I'd rather hear from you.
Yeah.
And I take that effort. Not everyone does, but to me, I'd rather hear from all sides as opposed to I just get a piece of paper saying this is what it is or what's being negotiated and then you have to vote. I don't like just going off of a piece of paper, but
Yeah.
it's never easy.
Yeah.
But I've just learned you really have to listen to both sides,
Yep.
hear what they say, and
Yep.
sometimes that means you're listening more than once.
Yeah.
And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I never mind putting the time into that. In fact, I wish more people would put more time into it because it gets to your point earlier. The more we interact with people, the more we're listening to people's perspective, the
Yeah.
more we learn and the more we can find that common sense, common ground.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, man. It's just, it's another thing that a lot about with people. It's just, for me personally, I'm no expert on very many. I don't know that I'm an expert on anything. So I'd much rather sit down and kind of somebody. It's like if I'm sitting down with somebody like you, we had talked about this before. It's like, you're a doctor. It's just like, and clearly got a good perspective on it. You were clearly probably in large part voted into your position because of that experience as well. And people value that. And that's the type of stuff for me. I wish that more people would value just sitting down and talking with one another. It's not always about, winning the argument. It's like, wow, it's just that's confrontational. It doesn't make much sense. And I like much more the idea of sitting down, listening to somebody and trying to learn. I've got my opinions on things but I'm wrong often. And I wish more often like we could operate that way and just come to solutions. I think we'd get things done much quicker.
And I
So
find we do. My 16 years as a town official,
yeah,
15 of those I was chair of planning and zoning, sometimes very contentious
yeah,
items. And I always found that when we would meet, work together, reach out, listen to people,
yeah,
you can find common ground. Um, when I was on planning and zoning, I probably just my years of education alone
mm,
was quote unquote the most educated by the number of years. Was I the smartest or the wisest? No, there were two farmers on my commission. Loved working with them. Really good people, but their knowledge of things, their knowledge of the town, um, the knowledge of people in the town was phenomenal.
yeah,
So they were the wisest.
yeah,
And I would say that at meetings, saying, "Look how many years of education I have, but I'm not the wisest." And so you listen to people like that. I also find that for me in the legislature, you can't be an expert in everything. Am I an expert in a lot of public health and medical issues, also certain planning and development things? Yeah, given my years of experience in doing things. Am I an expert in law enforcement? I mean, there are people who are firefighters and police officers in the legislature.
yeah,
I listen to them when they talk about things because that's their area of expertise. I find that I try to be one of the least partisan in the legislature. Doesn't mean I don't stand up for things when I need to and fight for things that I think are right or wrong. But my trying not to be in people's faces and grandstand and be uber partisan
yeah,
gives me an opportunity to reach out to people, and then
yeah,
they're willing to talk with me, to give me their perspective because they feel, well, Jeff isn't being partisan, is going to slam me on Facebook over something.
right,
He's going to listen to me. Now, maybe he may not vote the way I want, but he'll listen and he's taking the time. That's really what how you get it done. And that's why I tend to work a lot behind the scenes
yeah,
because that's where most of the work is done. I even, meet with various town officials regardless of party affiliation. I do that in Stafford.
yes,
Meet with the first selectman because we have to work together. And I find people who say that they can't work with people or they don't want to really aren't being helpful.
right,
Um, but the vast majority of people I find are common sense, want to try to find a way to get things done, and they do it. And that's what I love about our towns, that people just roll up their sleeves, they're willing to hash things out, work together to find a common solution. And it may not always be pretty, but that's the way it is in life. Not everything is easy, as you know.
well, yeah, it's you got to color outside the lines oftentimes.
You do, and that's how I've been able to stop working with people to stop a lot of the big public education cuts,
Mm,
getting huge increases in town aid road funding for our towns because
yep,
you work with people.
yeah,
And that opens doors.
yep,
And I don't care if someone's a Republican or a Democrat, unaffiliated. If I can work with them, there's enough credit to go around if we can get something done. And at the end of the day, I can tell you when I'm out there meeting with constituents, I'm doing it a lot. I did 13 office hours earlier this year. Stay tuned. I'm going to start to try to roll out some virtual office hours
yep,
to have a better way of connecting with people. I'm out in the towns heavily. That's what I hear from a lot of people.
yeah,
Keep on working with others so we can get things done because they're tired when people just yell and scream
yep.
and they wonder, what did you accomplish? And you see that.
Yes. Yeah, it's tough. And like and just it's obviously speaking to staff and what have you. It's like yeah, watching you and then watching people like, Bill Morrison, First Selectman and others. It's like it does like if you want to ever talk about like trickle down and what have you, I think sometimes oftentimes that kind of stuff does trickle down because I think that does, from your position and working its way into community and then getting things done for those communities, it sets up an environment within the community itself where other people start working together that might not have
Yes.
generally. And it's great because there's so like just in this town alone, I mean there's just so many wonderful people, so many brilliant people in this town that can offer so much. And you see it all the time. It's just a matter of getting out there and feeling confident enough to be able to do it. It's not easy, but that's the
You just
stuff.
got to keep working at it. And that's why I spend a lot of time out in the towns
Yep.
and I spend a lot of time trying to reach out to people and try to hear from people. And one of the big things I tell people is don't assume I know what you're thinking.
Right.
If you don't tell me, I'm not going to know. Now,
Right.
maybe I might know what you want to talk about. Maybe I don't. But go ahead and reach out. You don't have to write a book for an email,
Yeah.
but reach out to me. You can reach out by email. You can, when I'm out and about, I was at Apple Fest. And
Yeah.
I enjoy Apple Fest and I enjoyed participating in the apple pie eating contest. I didn't come anywhere close, by the way, to winning, but I did give out trophies for the senators' trophies for the people who won. I had people come up to me who knew I was the senator, hadn't met me yet, and were asking me questions.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and some of them were like, "Well, I'm sorry to bother you." I'm like, "You're not bothering me. I'm here.
Yeah.
Feel free." Now, I may not know the answer and I'll research it, or I may tell them, look, it's a federal issue. I'm a state
Yep.
senator. I don't know some of the stuff that's going on federal because I'm not there in DC. But I tell people, find us as legislators, we're average people, and use that as an opportunity. Because if you see us, then talk with us. And I find more and more when I have that open door policy, more people are willing to walk through the door and talk.
Yeah.
And I learned an awful lot just hearing what people have to say and their perspectives. And I can tell you many times from a meeting, I walk away and I'm like, I didn't know that, or that's a really good idea. I wish I thought of it. And that's what's good about it is I'm getting a lot of quote unquote advice from people, and that's helpful for me. I'm one person, but the more I can get info from my constituents, the better. And it's the same in town government. The more you can interact with your town officials in a good way, the
Yeah.
more they hear from you, the more they can better represent you and work for you. And that's what people I wish would take more time to do. And technology makes it easier,
Yes.
such as what you're doing. You're reaching out to people this way. We don't have to go and set up a meeting and expect people can leave their homes and sit, through a
Yeah.
meeting. They can be at home watching what you're doing. That's great. Now the technology is making it easier for us to connect with people and people to connect with us. So I like doing that. That's why I'm going to try to do some virtual office hours.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of the things I think I mentioned to you before on the phone, just in regards to like everyone talk, you had mentioned DC, not knowing what, yeah, none of us know what's going on in DC outside of what we see on the television and what have you. Me personally, I try to just steer clear as much as possible because there's nothing you can do about that really. A lot of times it just gets you riled up for no reason.
I'm
And
not there in DC.
yeah.
I remind people I am in the same boat you are. I don't always know what's going on in DC. I'm not there. My staff is, and I'm a state senator.
Yep.
So there's only so much that I can know what's going on there, not being literally there as a congressman or a senator. But with that said, I can connect people with a federal agency. Usually I'll say, hey, contact your senators or your congressman. We're happy to make the connection.
Yeah.
And then they can take it from there. We get that a lot on certain federal issues. A lot of it is a passport issue, a VA issue. Look, I can't help you in DC, but I know who to connect you with.
Right.
That's great, and we're more than happy to to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's tough. It is tricky. And so I have no just kind of trying to always remember that and what have you, and just get into the fact of like it's great that you can connect it, but focus on the fact that like we're all neighbors. The people
Mhm.
that town hall and whatnot, neighbors, people that are state senators, neighbors, people that you can talk to. So and you know. Forget about DC, I say honestly, just like leadership. I think starts at the bottom, the local level, just how we
It
treat
goes up.
and go. Yeah, and goes up.
Absolutely, it does at the grassroots. And I tell people, you can call me senator. I mean, I've only been senator for 3 years. You can call me doctor. I've been doctor since 1993. But at the end of the day, unless there's some formality we have to follow in a certain meeting, you can just call me Jeff.
Yep.
I tell people I don't need a title to be able to do what I do. They give me the title of senator, and I'm elected to it, and I'm proud to represent people. End of the day, I'm Jeff,
Yeah.
and I remind people I'm the senator in case they don't know or they don't remember why I'm doing certain things. But people can just call me Jeff. I mean, most of the time I'm not referred to as Senator. Most of the time I'm just referred to as Jeff, and that's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. I try not to be too formal because the title doesn't do anything for me. It's more the position I have and the responsibility I have. And so I'm more than happy just to be called Jeff. And I encourage people to do that. And many times when I reply back with emails or I still will handwrite letters,
Yeah.
I'm signing it Jeff. It's on my letterhead, but that's as simple as it needs to be. And I want people to feel that, they can connect and they don't need to go through certain formalities unless, certain situations might call for it. If there's certain meeting or something where you have to be formal, otherwise you're right. We're all in the towns, we're all neighbors, we're all in the community. So, how much do you really want to be that formal about it? I just rather keep it personal and at the grassroots level. I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's where it all starts, man.
Yep.
Uh, well, I think unless you've got other things that you wanted to mention specifically, like I said, I wish I still had my laptop powered up. I know we had some things specifically that we were going to talk about. I think we touched on a lot of it.
Well, I
Um,
can mention a couple quick things if you don't mind, because I get this asked a lot.
yep.
What's happening with funding for the towns from the state?
Yes.
And I can tell you a couple things. One is, do I believe that the state lives up to what I think it's its legal obligation to fully fund what it should fund for public education, K through 12, and special education? No, it does not at all. I've been very public about that. Do I fight for more funding? I do. Now, some of it means we have to fight to stop cuts, and I just want to mention a few things to people
Sure.
when we talk about cuts in state funding. So in 23, we had to create a new 2-year state budget. That's for fiscal year, that was for the fiscal year 24-25. Overall, for the town of Stafford, a budget proposal that came out from the governor for 2 years would have cut around $750,000. So if that cut went through, can you imagine what an increase in the mill rate that would be?
Yeah.
So I worked with others and we stopped it. Now, some people would say, well, you didn't give us millions more. But when you have to fight to stop big cuts, and that was around $3 million in cuts for my 13 towns, that's a big effort. And then this year, we had to create another 2-year budget. What was the proposal that came out for cuts to Stafford? I wrote the number down, just shy of $900,000. How would Stafford absorb that?
Yeah.
That was a fight I fought with others, and we stopped those cuts. We found the money. I also pushed to get more special education money. I pushed for last fiscal year, we got $40 million extra for the state spending for special education. I pushed to get this year, for the next 2 years, 124 million in special education money. Unfortunately, it got negotiated down to half of that, but we've gotten much more special education money for Stafford. The other is people see a lot of roads and bridges and other things being done, and the state does provide some money for that. It's called Town Aid Road.
Yes.
I pushed to get more money. Overall, for our towns, we were able now to get 33% increase in funding. And I wrote it down for what that meant for Stafford. And that means that over 2 years, this year, next year, $265,000 extra is going to flow in to help pave roads and fix bridges and other public transportation infrastructure and public safety like street lights and crosswalks.
Yep.
That's a good use of more money coming in. And there's other things I've been fighting for as well. So some of it's big, some of it's small. We have gotten a number of things for economic development and other projects for Stafford. I'm still fighting for more bonding for projects.
Yep.
But when people take a look at what I've been fighting for, I've been fighting to make certain that we can repurpose some of the state money towards things we need, like public education in Stafford. I've met with the Board of Ed more than once. I've met with the superintendents. More public infrastructure, more
Yeah.
for law enforcement,
Mm.
for the resident trooper in the resident trooper's office. Those are things that matter that people may not see as splashy in the news.
Yeah.
And I try to make certain I get that information out. But that's the nuts and bolts of trying to help town government. And I'm always happy to keep pushing and advocating for that. And the more we keep stopping cuts and the more we can get more funding, the better, because at the end of the day, someone has to pay for it. And that ultimately comes out of property tax if we can't get more for the state or we let these cuts go through. So I just want to remind people that they may not see it all, but there's a lot that goes on that. And literally, I can spend every day of the week doing it, which I more or less do. But I want to remind people that there is that work being done. We do interface with town government, and I do interface with our federal delegation to see what we can do to be of cooperative help. And I'm always willing to do that. People may not see it, but I want to assure them that that fight happens, that work happens. And I don't always grandstand about it, but I do remind people of it because I want people to realize work is being done and they should continue to push for that work to be done.
Yeah, it's an important thing to know. I mean, if you're not talking about the things that are getting done, people don't know. There'll always be the times where people say, "Oh, well, he's just mentioned it." Well, it's good information. I'm glad that you brought it up because I completely would have flown past it, and you didn't need to bring it up, and you did. Even like a friend of mine who's actually running for city council in New London, Lucian Varela, he popped in there too. He's running as a Green Party candidate, and I really admire him. He's somebody that got me really kind of got my mind going politically in a much different way. And he does a good job trying to work with people across the aisle. He's done things with Republicans in New London, and he's an educator as well. So he sent a comment down here thanking you for supporting state-funded education and how important that is. So I definitely wanted to give him a shout out and also just like say that too because it is appreciated. You should be able to mention stuff. And I'm glad that you did before we signed off because it's very important that people know that and that people understand that work is being done. You don't always see it. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. It's happening.
Correct. And it happens a lot. And one last thing I just want to leave you and your viewers with is that the more we can get information out to people, the
Yep.
better. What you're doing tonight, and I know you're going to have something coming up with candidates.
Yes.
That's
Right.
getting information out to people. That's wonderful. And I can't thank you enough, Greg, for doing it and for inviting me to continue to participate. And I look forward to doing it in the future as a way to reach to people. But I also want to let people know that they should find these opportunities. So they can see me on Facebook. They can look at my webpage. If they Google Senator Jeff Gordon, they'll find my webpage. And on that page, you can sign up for free my e-newsletter that comes out every couple of weeks
Yep.
to let people know what's going on. But also it will let people know this is how you reach out to me. This is how you call my office. This is how you email.
Yep.
I sometimes get messages on Facebook or you find me in person. So the more we can get information out to people, the better. But the other is that it keeps us as elected officials, state and local here in Connecticut, on our toes to make certain that we're continuing to work for people. And it reminds me constantly who I work for. I have 100,000 bosses because that's my constituents. Now, my number one boss is my wife, of course, but my bosses are not the leaders in the legislature, they're my constituents. And so every time I interact or can get information out, I always remember that. And this is one great way, Greg, of getting that out as elected officials and candidates. So thank you for doing it. And I'm glad we got the technology to work.
Yep.
And always happy to take advantage of that in any way that I can so people can reach out. And if people had comments and you can send them to me that I didn't answer or
Okay.
didn't get to the topic, if we know who they are and they provide their contact info, I'm happy to try to reach out to them and answer their questions if they have any that we didn't get to tonight.
Yeah, and I miss them too. I mean, it pops up a little bit. That's why when I saw that, I wanted to mention that. I think we were pretty good. I'm hoping so. I'll only even mention this one just because on my end, on a personal note, I got my mom actually here, and she said thank you very much for working for us. So, from my mom to you,
Oh, well, thank you. I
my,
appreciate it. And
my
a big
original boss.
and I hope your mother thanks you as well because you are contributing to the work that gets done in the community by doing what you're doing like this. And you can't underestimate ways of getting things out to people and people to interact with me as a state senator because I don't believe they should just have to travel to Hartford to find me.
Right.
I have rolling office hours and I consider this office hours reaching out to people, but I really mean it. If there are comments that people have that I didn't answer, we couldn't get to, provide your contact info, like an email, and I'm happy to follow up on that. Won't be tonight, but I'm happy to do that so people don't feel left out that we couldn't touch upon everything in the hour.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, again, I appreciate you doing it. You know, it means a lot to me. You, like I said in the beginning, you've always been willing. You know, and you're always very open about answering questions. You know, I try to feel as comfortable about it as possible. It's not always easy, but I try to get out of my own get out of the comfort zone and what have you. And I hope to continue growing this into something more. And just the fact that you've been one of the first people that were willing to do it means a lot to me. So I appreciate you, Jeff, and I definitely will.
Happy to do it.
And I'll look at the comments section and see if there was anything that we missed. And yeah, so thank you so much. And yeah, man, I hope you have a good night. Thank you for everything.
You too, and thanks a lot, Greg. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Sounds good, my friend.
Take care.
You too.